The nation's attention focuses on the University of Missouri, where a tent city protest and football boycott lead to the resignation of the university system president.
And to promises from university curators to put a brighter spotlight on diversity. Good evening. Racial tensions on the MU campus have come to a head with the immediate resignation of university system president Tim Wolf.
And the announcement of a January 1st resignation of Columbia campus Chancellor R. Bowen Lofton. Our team coverage starts tonight with KRCG 13's Mark Slavitt. He focuses on the announcements from Wolf and Lofton, which came during a hastily called 6-hour-long Board of Curators meeting.
Well, Kermit and Megan, we began our day with the resignation of University of Missouri System President Tim Wolf, and we ended our day with MU Chancellor R. Bowen Lofton stepping down from his job. Now, Tim Wolf held back tears as he has announced his resignation. Wolf said he resigned after taking full responsibility for the alleged racial tensions on all 4 campuses. Wolf wants everyone to take his resignation as part of a healing process.
I'm resigning as president of the University of Missouri System. My motivation in making this decision comes from love. I love MU, Columbia, where I grew up, in the state of Missouri.
Well, later today, Chancellor R. Bowen Lofton announced he is stepping down from his job as of January 1st. Before he made his announcement, 9 deans from the University of Missouri-Columbia sent a letter to the Board of Curators asking them to fire Lofton. However, he will still remain within the university system.
I have decided today that I will transition from the role of Chancellor of the University of Missouri, effective the end of this year, and move into a new role where I will work with many people across the university and with the system to advance our research mission at the University of Missouri.
University of Missouri Board of Curators President Donald Cupp said university leaders will try to replace both Wolf and Lofton as soon as possible. Reporting live in Columbia, Mark Slavitt, KRCG 13.
Now, a significant development in the Tim Wolf story was the decision over the weekend of the Mizzou football players to boycott football activities until Wolf left office.
The national spotlight that decision put on the situation, it may have been the tipping point. We go live now to KRCG 13 Sports Director Rod Smith for more.
Megan and Kermit, the Missouri football Tigers will indeed play this Saturday night in Kansas City. The BYU game is on as scheduled. It was in jeopardy over the weekend when the Tiger football players decided to join in the protest and discontinue all football activities. Coach Gary Pinkel spoke today here at the Missouri Athletics Training Complex and told us about a team meeting that the Tigers had yesterday.
I'm sure that some players said, I don't know if I really agree with missing a game for this, but we're a team and we're a family, and I get and I feel what those guys are feeling, and I'm going to support them. So to sit there and say, everybody raised their hand and said, I'm in, they certainly did. But at the end of the day, certainly there were some players that just went along with it, most likely, because it was their football team and their family, and they were going to support them.
The Tiger players decided not to speak to the media today. Pinkel told us it was their choice. They didn't practice yesterday. They will return to the practice field as normal tomorrow in preparation for that BYU game on Saturday. In Columbia, Rod Smith, KRCG 13 Sports.
The nation's attention remains focused on the University of Missouri amid racial tensions. The university system's president and Columbia campus chancellor both resigned Monday.
Today, curators name an interim president while a man who made threats against the university goes to court, and an increased police presence continues on campus.
The sign outside the Black Culture Center on campus gets vandalized. Protesters from across the nation descend upon Tiger Nation. And Donald Trump chimes in on the situation at Mizzou. Good evening. After 4 days without a leader, the University of Missouri system tonight has an interim president.
The Board of Curators appointed former MU Deputy Chancellor Mike Middleton to fill the position vacated when Tim Wolf resigned on Monday. Middleton's appointment comes amid continuing racial unrest on the Mizzou campus. KRCG 13's Garrett Berquist tells us what we can expect from Mike Middleton.
Interim UM System President Michael Middleton has no illusions about the situation he's inherited.
This problem is centuries old, and this problem is going to take years to solve, if it can be solved.
Middleton's appointment follows Tim Wolf's resignation on Monday. Wolf resigned amid mounting pressure from black students who accused him of ignoring race issues. Middleton is no stranger to race issues. He co-founded MU's Legion of Black Collegians in the late 1960s and spent the last 17 years as MU's deputy chancellor.
The members of Concerned Student 1950 are students at the University of Missouri. And so I have met with members of that group before the group existed, talking about these issues.
Middleton says he will implement the initiatives announced by the Board of Curators earlier this week. They include hiring more black faculty, appointing a system-wide diversity officer, and reviewing student and faculty conduct policies. But Middleton says policy changes will only go so far.
I also suspect that my color was a factor in the judgment that I was the person at this time to take this position. One of the problems, one of the things impeding our ability to get beyond this problem is our inability to talk about it. We've got to be truthful. We've got to put the facts on the table. We've got to understand the ugly, ugly history that permeates everything we do in our institutions in this country.
In Columbia, Garrett Bergquist, KRCG 13.
Hundreds of students from across the country joined Mizzou demonstrators in a campus-wide march today called We Are Not Afraid.
Marchers tell KRCG 13's Mark Slavitt the racial threats against the MU campus will not make them go away.
We ready? Marchers showed they have no fear of the recent racial threats against them. Rolla College student Hunter Park was arrested this week after he allegedly made terrorist and racist threats against the Mizzou campus on social media. Former hunger strike protester Jonathan Butler led the marchers in several chants during their journey through campus. University police and the Columbia Fire Department escorted the marchers through the Mizzou campus. Students said their nonviolent march was the best way to send their message.
We're not afraid. You will not scare us away from our campus, and we pay tuition here just like you do. This is our home just like it is everybody else's, and we want people to know that racism lives here, and so do we. Like I said, we're not afraid to be on campus regardless of what's said online.
Marchers made a brief stop in the middle of Mizzou's Greektown and gave what they called a war cry. The march ended on the Jesse Hall Auditorium stage with more chanting and dancing. The Concerned Student 1950 activist group started off with 11 people. The group now has thousands of members from across the country. Thanks to the national and international media, their message is spreading across the world. In Columbia, Mark Slavitt, KRCG 13. KRCG 13 first introduced you to the members of Concerned Student 1950 before the nation knew about this Mizzou activist student group. We were there for their first protest. It was a small sit-in demonstration outside the MU Chancellor's office. You can't stop the revolution! You can't stop the revolution! Their numbers grew. Liberation! Several demonstrations and marches by Concerned Student 1950 combined with a hunger strike by Mizzou graduate student Jonathan Butler and a walkout by the Mizzou football team led to major changes in leadership, including the appointment of retired MU Deputy Chancellor Michael Middleton as the new university system president.
We must confront many uncomfortable societal issues that, once confronted, will make us stronger.
After the football team strike, the university president and MU chancellor resigned. MU law professor Chuck Henson filled a new position on the Mizzou campus as the interim vice chancellor for inclusion, diversity, and equity to help improve race relations. University officials hope changes in personnel and policy help create a solution to Mizzou's racial problems.
Color in this country is an issue that is considered, that affects many, many decisions that are made, positively and negatively.
Lorenzo Lawson helps Columbia's black youth at the Youth Empowerment Zone. Lawson says the racial tension in his city could turn into something positive.
I'm thinking that Columbia is going to set the precedent for every other community that's dealing with this, how to go about healing it in a peaceful way.
Missouri NAACP President Mary Ratliff is proud of the Concerned Student 1950 activist group and their efforts to solve Mizzou's racial problems.
This was the Mizzou community, for one of the first times that I've ever seen, stand together united.
Ratliff says people accusing university leaders of pandering to Mizzou student activists are wrong.
It's all these people coming on, saying, all these mean things about these young people who just fighting for their rights, who's trying to make it better for folks who will come on after them. And so I commend them for.
Concerned Student 1950 members have a list of demands for university officials, including more African American faculty on their campus. The group met with university curators 1 week ago. The curators are considering their suggestions in hopes of moving the MU campus forward.
It is clear to me that a first step is to devote our attention to addressing those demands.
A neighbor reacts with horror while recording a condominium fire that killed 4 small children at the Lake of the Ozarks. Good evening. Investigators are poring over the charred rubble of Tuesday night's fatal fire, hoping to determine the cause.
We begin tonight's team coverage with a live report from KRCG 13's Ashley Zavala, who's live at the scene of the fire with the latest.
Kermit and Megan, authorities continue to try and figure out what caused the fatal fire. 11 fire departments responded to the 4-alarm fire at Compass Point condos just before midnight Tuesday. Officials said 6 people were trapped inside. 2 adults eventually got out. 4 very young children did not. Officials said the 4 children are all between the ages of 2 and 5. They were cousins. They were celebrating a birthday of one of the cousins earlier that day. Fire officials believe the fire began on the 4th floor near the unit where the children resided. Fire officials said because there were deaths in the fire, it is considered a crime scene until proven otherwise.
So when we talk about investigation of this, we're not discounting criminal, but we're not saying that it is suspicious and it is possibly that either. It's just protocol that we do this to make sure the determination is correct.
The father of one of the victims survived the fire. Authorities are still investigating and gathering more information on what caused this tragedy. Reporting live in Osage Beach, Ashley Zavala, KRCG 13.
That fire left mid-Missourians, including residents of Compass Point, in shock and disbelief.
KRCG 13's Ryan Rumbaugh was the first reporter on the scene this morning and spoke with neighbors who say the loss of the 4 children is devastating.
This area at the Lake of the Ozarks is typically quiet and peaceful. Tuesday night around 11:30, residents of Compass Point experienced something they'll never forget.
And I heard it, like an explosion, like boom! Then we ran over and we looked, and this condo was on fire.
When I seen the flames, Immediately, any human being watching that, all you can think of is, are there people in there? And then I looked and seen people hanging out of the window, so I knew there were people in there.
Then we found out there were children up in that unit, and yeah, it killed all of us.
6 people were trapped inside, a couple on the 3rd floor of the building, and 4 young children on the top floor.
Mike and Susan Hayes live on the 1st floor of the building. They got out within a few minutes. After they escaped, they turned their efforts into helping their neighbors to safety.
Went out the front door of our unit, and there was a lot of smoke, and I heard a man yelling, "Oh my God, oh my God." And so I ran in to get my wife and wake her up, and I woke her up and told her, I said, "We got a fire, we got to get out of here."
The wind and the flames was coming closer to our place, and I thought, well, I've got to get out. And then the flames were just everywhere, but with God's help, I got out.
The couple on the 3rd floor was brought to safety by fire crews. The 4 children didn't survive.
It's a helpless feeling when you know that there's people trapped in there and there's nothing you can do. It's just very overwhelming.
While this community is mourning the loss of 4 young lives, residents of Compass Point did their best to help rescue their neighbors. In Osage Beach, Ryan Rumbaugh, KRCG 13 News.
We are learning more about the 4 children who died in that fire.
KRCG 13's Elizabeth Hoffman tells us about the lives that were lost.
It was supposed to be an exciting week for Kyrie Helton. She was looking forward to her birthday when she would turn 2 years old on Thursday. Her first 3 cousins came for a party on Tuesday night. But instead of more birthday celebrations, family members will now be planning funerals for all 4 children.
I'm yelling at the top of my lungs, "Are you guys okay? Are you guys okay?" I heard some screaming inside the building.
But they were not okay. Kyrie Helton, along with her cousins Leanne Hendrickson, Joshua Hendrickson, and Ziza Bradshaw, all died in the condominium fire. The children were between the ages of 1 and 5. As the shock of the news turned to reality, a makeshift memorial was created this afternoon to honor those children who were lost. Reagan Matson lives in a nearby condo. She brought one of her own stuffed animals to the makeshift memorial, along with a note she wrote for the kids.
I wanted them to read it from heaven.
Simple words of comfort from a child.
I hope you feel better in heaven. Say hi to my kitten. You'll love her.
Small words that perhaps will provide comfort to an entire community. In Osage Beach, Elizabeth Hoffman.
I love you guys so much.
KRCG 13.
Funeral arrangements for all 4 of those children are now pending.
It has been a rough day for a lot of people at the Lake of the Ozarks, not the least of whom are the families of those 4 small children who are no longer with us.
We tip our hat to the emergency responders who had to battle not only the flames but their own emotions to get through it. And before we go tonight, we want to remind you of what the people there have endured today, as captured through the lens of KRCG 13 Chief Videographer Dave McAllister.
So we will say good night and see you again tomorrow.
Oh my God. This is terrible.
Last night at approximately 11:21, the City of Osage Beach Dispatch Center received a 911 call of a possible condo fire off Red Bud Passover Road at Compass Point Condominiums.
I went out the front door of our unit, and there was a lot of smoke, and I heard a man yelling, "Oh my God, oh my God."
The wind and the flames was coming closer to our place, and I thought, well, I've got to get out. And then the flames were just everywhere.
Turned around and looked out the deck, and nothing but fire.
Say hi.
We were made aware of the possibility of 4 children in the 4th floor.
We were worried about a child being in there, and then now we're hearing there were 4.
It's sad. The loss of children is very sad.
A couple questions.
How long did this go on for?
My statement speaks for itself.
Did you make all those texts that were in the paper, basically, and why did you deny it for 3 weeks then?
Virginia, my statement speaks for itself. Okay?
No,
I made a stupid mistake.
Did you write all those
Were all those real?
We're not going anywhere. We're staying out here.
So why were you trying to mislead the stuff?
What are your feelings on this? I mean, it's been all
I made a
day.
mistake. I'm sorry. I'm human. I apologized. And I've asked for my Cox's forgiveness.
Deal never provided any answers beyond his brief statement. House Republicans met for about an hour earlier in the evening. They refused to say what they had discussed, but they did say Deal was still Speaker. In Jefferson City, Garrett Bergquist, KRCG 13.
Lawyers for the intern refused to comment.
It's become a common sight all over the lake area. Water spilling over docks and into yards.
Lake Ozarks is not a lake that should operate above pool. I mean, it's not designed to do that. There's a lot of development around it. Dangerous things can happen if you get above pool, and we're going to work very quickly here to try to get it below that maximum pool level.
On Thursday afternoon, Governor Jay Nixon announced the Lake of the Ozarks was under a no-wake rule until further notice.
Not only are you going to have damage with the wakes at that level that could cause the docks to be bent and hurt and that sort of stuff, but actually the more dramatic of the public safety challenges is to get into the electronics that are on many of those docks.
How long the rule stays in place depends on how quickly Ameren can release water from Bagnell Dam into the Osage River. Ameren needs to bring the lake level below 661 feet to return lake conditions to normal. In the meantime, Nixon says he wants everyone to follow the no-wake rule.
We certainly don't want the Highway Patrol's Water Patrol Division boats creating a big wake by having to go fast to catch people that are violating it. So, but make no mistake, we're going to enforce this emergency order. If we enforce it and things go smoothly over the next 48 to 50 hours, we may be down to that 661 pool and get back to relative normal pretty quickly.
It will be an election year, but for the first time in a long time, Nixon's name won't be on any ballot.
How strange is it not to be involved in that sort of business right now?
Strange could be seen as a pejorative term, and the term that comes to mind for me is far more liberating than strange. It's good to be able to not think about the politics and think about the policy.
History will remember him by the major events that have occurred under his term. Early on, the Joplin tornado challenged his ability to marshal resources.
What did the president say to you this morning? He pledged whatever it takes to make sure we get this area rebuilt.
It took a while, but Joplin did recover.
And I'm just real proud of the outcome of that.
And then there's Ferguson.
This is a test. The eyes of the world are watching.
Nixon's critics ripped him for failing to use the National Guard effectively.
We shoot back! We shoot back!
One even laid the responsibility for the violence at his feet.
A human rights violation which our governor allowed to happen.
Certainly there was some things that happened which were deeply disappointing. You know, some buildings were damaged and things like that. But the fact that we did not end up with, a Kent State situation or something like that, I think will, when people look back on that, and then the positive changes are now being made. The historic municipal court reform bill that was passed.
I am a revolutionary.
Fast forward to the situation at Mizzou.
If Ferguson doesn't happen a year ago, does this happen now?
You know, I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of energy out there on these issues. I think you've got a whole new generation of folks involved in these issues and a whole new set of tactics and methodology.
Looking forward to his final year in office, the governor wants to put ethics back on the legislature's front burner. As to what lies beyond 2016, Nixon routinely has dismissed questions about presidential aspirations.
The fact that questions like that are not met with laughter is a very nice birthday present. Thank you.
But that does not mean he would not accept an appointed position in a Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders administration.
I'm pretty sure about a couple of things. I'm not going to be a lobbyist. I'm not going to be the guy that folks like Kermit Miller are going to call and say, well, this governor 5 years from now, do you think he did the right thing or the wrong thing? I'm not going to be that person. If somebody has the guts and courage to run for governor and gets elected by the people, I'm going to be supportive of that person to succeed.
58,307
Americans are represented on the wall in front of you.
Engraved with the name of every woman and man who gave their life for what they believed.
1,418 of those are from Missouri.
The wall is respect. The wall is a thank you. The wall is healing. The wall is teaching us to never forget those who sacrificed everything for each of us here today.
It should become more public, held in reverence by us, and its meaning explained to our neighbors and to our youth by us.
And I think time has proven that this wall has been a great healing function for this nation. And it allows families that don't have the wherewithal to travel to Washington to come and see the wall and have some degree of closure. And I want to thank the state of Missouri for placing this wonderful exhibit on the steps of our Capitol. We owe our veterans no less.
He spent 21 years in prison, and today he became a free man. Jeff Mazansky waited for decades for this moment, filled with hugs from family, including some he'd never met.
How you doing? You know, it's been kind of like a dream. Everybody in there has been asking me, and even my family, you nervous yet? You excited? I said, well, I've been trying to keep my feet on the ground. And I've been through courts and thought that things would change and should have changed with some of the issues I brought up, and nothing's ever happened. And I had a lot of high hopes through them times. So I've taught myself not to keep them high hopes up, so I've been keeping them all the way down. So really, everything just hit me right now.
Even as Mazansky took his first steps as a free man, his thoughts remain within the prison walls.
There's a lot of good people in here that need to come out. There really is. Now, I got to agree there's some in here that don't ever need to be out. But, you know, there's a lot that need to come.
Mazansky was arrested in 1993 after selling 6 pounds of marijuana to a dealer. It was his third offense. At the time, the 3 strikes you're outlaw was popular. Mazansky was sentenced to life without parole, an option normally reserved for the most violent criminals. When he went into prison at the age of 40, he never thought he would walk free or hug his family ever again. Until today. Now at the age of 62, Jeff Mazansky met his great-grandchild for the very first time. State lawmakers repealed the law last year, and Governor Jay Nixon in May changed Mazansky's sentence to life with the possibility of parole.
Get this legalized. Nobody deserves to be in there for marijuana. There's several people in there right now. One of them's in there doing 15 years for having 6 little plants about this big. That's ridiculous. Something that grows. The Lord put it on this earth for a reason. It's for mankind to use. People are finally opening their eyes and seeing it. I'm glad. It's about time. I wish they'd have done it 15, 20 years ago.
But for today, Mazansky focused on reuniting with family and enjoying the freedoms most of us take for granted. In Cole County, with photojournalist David McAllister, I'm Garrett Bergquist, KRCG 13.
KRCG 13's Ashley Zavala geared up and went along with officers on an undercover drug bust in Osage County.
KRCG 13 suited up in bulletproof vests and went undercover with deputies and officers. With the warrant activated on a late October night, Michael Dixon sent in his sniper team onto Branson Lane near Cooper Hill.
As they're monitoring the situation, we can adapt or change our game plan while we're en route if we need to.
Within minutes after approaching the house, officers had 4 people in custody.
Lenig expects to serve at least 5 more search warrants before the end of 2015. Those 5 will be just in Osage County alone. In Osage County, Ashley Zavala, KRCG 13.
Hallsville Middle School may be a small school, but something very big recently happened inside, and it's all thanks to a fast-acting science teacher.
We have one cell that's going to create a new cell.
It started out as a regular day in Miss Berry's 6th grade science class.
I heard a noise in the hallway, and I said, that doesn't sound right.
8th grader Gage Donner was just outside of his former teacher's classroom.
Right when I left the class, I put the warhead in my mouth, and when I was walking down the hall, I started choking on it.
Miss Berry took immediate charge, and her heroic actions were caught on video surveillance.
I said, Gage, are you choking? And he indicated to me he was, and he was getting light in this area, you know, when lack of oxygen, and he was purple everywhere else, and his eyes were bulging, and I just looked at him and said, oh my gosh, I need to do something.
She came up behind me and then started pumping on my, like, right here, and it got unlodged. And she did it a couple times.
I didn't think, I just reacted.
And her reactions worked. The candy was unlodged and Gage was able to breathe again. Miss Berry says when she thinks about it now, she is so thankful she was in the right place at the right time.
I just happened to hear that, and I just happened to be in the position in my room that I could see him walk by my door.
Miss Berry said it all hit her when she met with Gage's family afterwards.
But it didn't hit me until Gage's little sister wrapped her arms around my legs and looked up at me and said, thank you for saving my brother.
And while they're able to laugh about it now,
you got candy in there?
Miss Berry and Gage will forever have a special bond that is no joke. In Hallsville with photojournalist David McAllister, I'm Elizabeth Hoffman, KRCG 13. It was a trip they will never forget. The Franklin County Honor Flight took Mid-Missouri veterans to Washington, D.C. for a chance to look at statues and monuments, all made in their honor. The Honor Flight made certain the veterans knew just how much they were appreciated.
It was outstanding. Everywhere we went, people paying recognition, honor, really made me feel good.
They've given so much for our country, and now Mid-Missouri veterans have been given the chance of a lifetime at a trip with the Honor Flight. While in D.C., the veterans watched the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Before the Honor Flight trip left Washington, D.C., veterans were surprised with mail call.
Don Nelson. Right here.
The simple notes of appreciation that meant the world to the veterans.
Really emotional.
Donald Nelson wasn't expecting a letter from his wife of 46 years.
I know that you don't consider it a sacrifice, but it was your duty. Thank you. It was all of us. You know.
Grandpa, I've always been proud of you and appreciate everything you've done for me.
Reading their mail brought several veterans to realize their sacrifices haven't been forgotten.
I think that we're cared for more than we think we are.
Cared for by those who love them dearly.
Dad, I've always been proud to say that my father served his country with honor and distinction.
A ceremony recognized each veteran with an honorary certificate.
Eugene J. Dorsey, United States Navy, World War II.
These soldiers may feel like they were simply carrying out their duty while in battle, but family members, friends, and the entire country will be forever grateful for their service.
Good evening. It's a very special night here at KRCG 13 and in CBS history.
David Letterman is signing off the air after 33 years, and we have a special newscast for you tonight.
It's almost time for David Letterman's final late show, and a local family got to see it live in person. Join us from New York City for this historic event.
And we're live from Jefferson City, where locals gather for Dave's last show.
We'll take you back to just days after 9/11 when David Letterman showed us it was okay to laugh again.
Those stories and more are coming up.
KRCG 13 Live at 10 starts right now. Good evening. In about half an hour, David Letterman will end a 33-year late-night television career.
It's a show that will go down in history. KRCG 13's Ryan Rumbaugh is in New York City and joins us live from outside of the home of The Late Show. Ryan?
Megan and Kermit, I'm live outside the Ed Sullivan Theater in New York City, and Letterman has left the building. Now, the show was actually taped and ended around 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time, and all we know is that it was a star-studded show. There were celebs like Steve Martin, Tina Fey, Peyton Manning, to name a few. Now, we're actually out in New York City. We followed a local family from Fulton out here. They were actually invited to the taping by Dave himself. Kathy Woodson is a huge Letterman fan, and for her, tonight was a bit emotional.
Just feel like my friends who came over every night won't be coming over anymore. And that's kind of sad to me. But, oh well, life goes on.
Now stay tuned. We'll have more live reports from New York City, and then after the news, it's showtime. Live in front of the Ed Sullivan Theater, Ryan Rumbaugh, KRCG 13 News.
We're about an hour away from the scheduled first pitch in Game 1 of the World Series.
The Royals are set to host the New York Mets this evening. KRCG 13's Rod Smith joins us from Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City with a preview.
Thanks a lot, Megan and Kermit. 111th World Series begins tonight here in Kansas City. It is the Royals and the Mets. Of course, last year the Royals, a big surprise team, made it all the way to the Fall Classic. The Mets really are the surprise team this year. We talked to several fans outside the stadium before this one, and Kansas City fans, they love it. A second straight trip to the World Series.
I think we got a really good chance this year. We came close last year, just 90 feet, what was it? Yeah, but yeah, I think we can get it done this year.
And for some fans, it takes a little longer to get ready for the game, like Julie, who took the train all the way from Anaheim, and you're a Royals fan.
That's correct. Die-hard Royals fan.
Way to go. And you have to get the face ready.
Yep, most definitely. It's World Series.
Lawrence, the Marlins man, made it here, and of course you are rooting for?
The Marlins.
They're not playing, bud.
No, they're not here. I guess I got lost.
We got the Royals and Mets, but you don't miss too many World Series, do you?
No, actually, I just realized about a minute ago, this is my 90th World Series game.
Yeah, and everybody loves you?
Not everybody.
I didn't think so.
No, but most people do once they hear my story about I want everybody to pay it forward and do good for others. And the reason I wear this is to draw attention to me so I can get people to do good and pay it forward to others and tell a good story.
Well, I'm afraid you might see the Marlins man behind home plate tonight as the Royals take on the Mets Game 1 of the World Series.
Well, the rain let up during the dinner hour in Kansas City.
Just in time for the Kansas City Royals to take on the New York Mets in Game 1 of the World Series. Rod Smith is there with more on the game.
Thanks a lot, Kermit and Megan. If this is any indication, this could be a great series between the Royals and Mets. We've gone to the 8th inning. The Mets lead at 4-3, but the Royals are threatening in their half of the 8th. It all started kind of crazy. Alcides Escobar with an inside-the-park home run for the Royals on the first pitch to Kansas City tonight in the first inning. First time they've had an inside-the-park home run in a World Series game since 1929. It's been a while. Royals had the lead 1-0. The Mets scored 3 straight with single runs in the 4th, 5th, and 6th. The Royals came back to tie it up in the bottom of the 6th. Eric Hosmer, an RBI sacrifice fly. Mike Moustakas had an RBI single. It was 3-3. Mets moments ago took the lead on an error, a rare miscue by the Royals defense, which has played so well this season and so well tonight too. Eric Hosmer at first couldn't field a ground ball. That allowed a run to score. So again, it's 4-3 Mets now in the bottom of the 8th inning. Royals at bat. This thing is not over. We'll have an update for you later on in sports. Kermit and Megan.
All right. And it's a celebration the likes of which have not been seen in Kansas City in 30 years.
Our resident Kansas City Royals fan, Zach Paul, made the trip to KC today for the World Series parade and victory rally.
It's been a long day in Kansas City for us here, and again, not only for us, but a lot of the Royals fans in general. If you were leaving mid-Missouri to try to catch the parade today, you would have had to leave around 4 o'clock this morning. Why? Because there was a lot of Royals fans that started camping outside of Union Station at 9 o'clock last night so they could be on the front row. I did get a chance to talk to one of the local guys here from Kansas City, from Grandview, as a matter of fact. They said he had to get here super early, and he got the second row.
We got here at 8:30. And there were some people already lining the fence, but we were second-tier people, and then when the parade started, we all pushed up, and the little kids went right up to the fence. It was great.
So while a lot of folks did show up early to get that front row spot, after talking with many fans here in Kansas City this afternoon, a lot of them, in fact, most of them, were really proud of the Royals and how well this community came together.
KFC so diverse as well. You got old people, you got young people, you got white, you got black, Hispanic, and everybody's love. It's all love. This is what the heart of America is. Hometown folks being cordial, all the love, people screaming, fans. This is excellent. I'm so glad to be a part of it.
And after a long day here in Kansas City, the main story, talking with fans that you just heard, was about the love for this team. And with the influx of over 500,000 people in Kansas City, they all in a sea of blue, there was a lot of love and a lot of love for these Royals. In Kansas City, Zach Paul, KRCG 13.
Live from across mid-Missouri, this is KRCG 13, live at 10.
The nation's attention today was focused on the University of Missouri as the university system's president and Columbia campus chancellor both resigned.
Protesters had called for those actions amid accusations the two were not addressing racism on the Columbia campus. Students camped on the quad and one man stopped eating until President Tim Wolf stepped down.
Before the day was over, Columbia's campus chancellor R. Bowen Lofton also said he would step aside.
KRCG 13's Mark Slavitt has the reaction of Wolf and Lofton now that they are no longer in leadership positions.
He begins our team coverage tonight.
Monday began with the resignation of University President Tim Wolf and ended with Chancellor R. Bowen Lofton stepping down from his job. Wolf held back tears as he announced his resignation. Wolf took full responsibility for the alleged racial incidents on all 4 university campuses. Wolf wants everyone to use his resignation as part of a healing process.
I'm resigning as president of the University of Missouri system. My motivation in making this decision comes from love. I love MU.
Several hours after Wolf's resignation, Chancellor R. Bowen Lofton announced he was stepping down from his job as of January 1st. Before Lofton's announcement, 9 deans from the Mizzou campus sent a letter to the curators asking them to fire Lofton. However, Lofton will continue to work in the university system.
I will transition from the role of Chancellor of the University of Missouri effective the end of this year and move into a new role where I will work with many people across the university and with the system to advance our research mission.
University of Missouri Board of Curators President Donald Cupp said the Board of Curators will try to replace both Wolf and Lofton as soon as possible. In Columbia, Mark Slavitt, KRCG 13.
News of Wolf's resignation caused a celebration among MU students protesting on campus. Hundreds of students were gathered at a protest site on the Carnahan Quadrangle when Wolf resigned earlier this morning.
KRCG 13's Garrett Bergquist was there when the word broke. He explains why some students say Wolf's resignation is not an end in itself.
The celebration was immediate when Wolf announced his resignation.
I'm very proud, actually. 11 students caused this one small problem, and it became worldwide. It's known everywhere. It's trending on Twitter.
Members of the group Concerned Student 1950 had been camping on the Carnahan Quadrangle for a week prior to Wolf's resignation. Some students say they're relieved Wolf chose to step down.
It's a feeling of relief, but not all the way. This was, like I say, this is the first step.
Students Maggie Brown and Christina Bates say they want to see a shift in attitudes on campus.
For the white, well, yeah, sorry, for them to accept us and know that we're people just like you are. The only thing that's different is I'm black and you're white, but we're here for the same goal. We're here to accomplish the same thing.
I would like to see inclusion on my campus as well. Things that are tradition to Mizzou, I would like to see. in the homecoming parade held at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock that day of homecoming. I would like to see inclusion. You know, we don't have to do things outside of us.
One student who did not want to go on camera says if a protest of this scale was needed, he's glad it happened at MU. He said he hopes Monday's events help turn MU into a leader on race issues. In Columbia, Garrett Bergquist, KRCG 13.
With Tim Wolf's resignation, the hunger strike by an MU student, Jonathan Butler, came to an end today.
We continue our team coverage with KRCG 13's Courtney Joden, who tells us more about that and more about from the Concerned Student 1950 group.
Thousands filled Tradition Plaza as original members of the Concerned Student 1950 group addressed the media and community following Tim Wolf's resignation.
Please stop focusing on the fact of the Mizzou hunger strike itself. Look at why did we have to get here in the first place and why the struggle and why we had to fight the way that we did.
Butler says their cries for change shouldn't have taken this long. The original 11 members, including MU grad student Jonathan Butler, who helped start the Mizzou hunger strike, say Wolf's resignation is a glimmer of hope in just the beginning. The group says they demand an immediate meeting with the Board of Curators, System Faculty Council, and Governor Jay Nixon.
To discuss shared governance and create a system of holistic inclusion for all constituents.
Members say their demands must be met to get healing. The group says they will not rest until they have full shared governance within the system. Butler, who held an 8-day hunger strike, has continued eating again. He says this movement was not made by him alone. It was everyone who wanted to stand up for a change.
It was everybody who chose to stand up in this time who made this possible. This was not Jonathan Butler. This was the Mizzou community for one of the first times that I've ever seen stand together united.
Spokesperson for Concerned Student 1950, Candace Head, says Butler did go to the hospital Monday morning. Head says Butler is doing the best he can, but it's going to take some time to get back to full nourishment. As for the tents out here, it's unclear how long they will be out. In Columbia, Courtney Joden, KRCG 13.
Members of the MU football team joined in on those protests.
KRCG 13's Rod Smith was there when Gary Pinkel spoke to the media.
Megan and Kermit, the Missouri football Tigers will return to the practice field tomorrow. They didn't practice today nor yesterday. And yes, the game is on for Saturday in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. Mizzou will take on BYU as originally scheduled. Gary Pinkel spoke to the media today, and it was a big gathering of national media, all kinds of cameras. He spoke about his decision to stand by his team's stand. He said it really was an easy decision.
They asked me if I'd support them, and I said I would. I didn't look at consequences. That wasn't about it at the time. It was about helping my players and supporting my players when they needed me. And I did the right thing, and I would do it again.
This has not been an easy season for Gary Pinkel and his Tigers. Of course, Matty Mock, the quarterback, suspended twice, now out for the season. And then this major distraction over the last few days. And oh, by the way, the Tigers have lost 4 straight games. 4 and 5 heading to Kansas City. They do have a game and a chance to even up on the season. In Columbia, Rod Smith, KRCG 13 Sports.
A series of racially charged events at the university led to today's resignations of Lofton and Wolf.
KRCG 13's Ashley Zavala has a timeline of those events.
Tim Wolf and R. Bowen Lofton stepped down from their respective positions after a long list of events in a short amount of time. In September, student body president Peyton Head was called racial slurs as he was walking on campus. In the beginning of October, a student allegedly targeted the legions of black collegians with racial slurs as they practiced a homecoming skit. A week later, student group Concerned Student 1950 blocked Wolf's car during the homecoming parade. After meeting with Wolf in the beginning of November, Concerned Student 1950 still was not satisfied with his approach toward one of the issues taking over campus.
We stopped listening to each other. We didn't respond or react.
MU grad student Jonathan Butler reacted to what he felt was Wolf's inaction by starving himself until the university system president resigned. On Saturday, 5 days into that hunger strike, Mizzou football players boycotted team activities until Butler ate and Wolf stepped down. Their head football coach said he supported them.
And I've been doing this a long time, and I've been a part of nothing like this, and feel that we did the right thing without question.
Concerned student 1950 says they'd like to add more to that timeline, including meetings with Governor Jay Nixon and Missouri's Board of Curators. In Columbia, Ashley Zavala, KRCG 13.
On Sunday, Attorney General Chris Koster said he hopes the Missouri Board of Curators creates a process by which indecents can be reported. A video of a confrontation involving demonstrators on the Carnahan Quad is making the rounds today.
We will show it to you coming up on KRCG 13 live at 10.
If you would like to take photos, you need to...
Temperatures this morning back into the 30s this afternoon, into the 50s. We are going to find warm weather again for your Tuesday and thunderstorm chances on Wednesday. Details after the break.
And now, your KRCG 13 Weather Authority forecast.
Upper 50s to near 60 degrees here for the afternoon. A few spots into the 20s this morning. Jefferson City, one of those areas. And the last time we had a 28-degree temperature was back on April the 4th. So it's been quite a while since we've seen those cold temperatures, and a few spots had them here this morning. Otherwise, as we go through the afternoon tonight, or the afternoon tomorrow, in fact, we'll find that sunshine continuing, south winds again 5 to 10 miles per hour. However, as we get into Wednesday, we are going to find some changes. A large area of low pressure is going to be sweeping across the Central Plains. That will bring a threat for severe weather. We'll find gusty winds out ahead of that. And all modes of severe weather will be possible on Wednesday afternoon. As far as the setup, still a little bit of unknowns with this and making sure all the ingredients are coming together, but it does look like wind will be the primary threat. But with some of these storms, tornadoes cannot be ruled out. The actual location for that we'll be refining over the next couple of days. Right now, I'm thinking the highest threat for that would come for areas north of I-70. Here's where our storm system's located right now. Still off the coast of California. Showers, thunderstorms out across that part of the country. Some snow through the high elevations of the Sierra Nevadas. The storm system will continue to sweep across the southwest part of the U.S. Once it gets across the Rockies, it will tap into the Gulf of Mexico, bring us a little more cloud cover, and shower and thunderstorm chances really start to ramp up after 12 o'clock on Wednesday. The immediate threat here for mid-Missouri right now, at least the consensus between a lot of this data, is showing around 2 to 3 o'clock starting across the western part of this mid-Missouri and moving east, and it does look like a lot of this will be out of here by the late evening hours. Right now, quiet skies over Jefferson City. A live look at our Scruggs Lumber camera. 39 degrees currently in Jefferson City. Calm winds at dew point right at 31 degrees. Overall temperature still 30s and 40s, but it's really all in your location. Warmer right now, Lynn at 47, while we're finding some of the cooler temperatures up to the north. Higbee 39, Brunswick also there at 37. Lynn, again, one of the warmer spots. Not much in the way of cloud cover now. It looks like we're going to stay that way for at least another 24 hours. Here's how that hour-by-hour forecast is shaping up as we go through the day on your Tuesday. We'll start the day off with quiet skies, sunshine. Going through the afternoon, still looking for mostly sunny skies. We will find a few clouds late Tuesday and into your Wednesday morning beginning to roll in. Overall, we'll be dry Wednesday morning, but a couple spots of rain will be possible. It'll be more towards that afternoon time frame that we start to see that roll in. Here's 3:30, and notice it lines up right along US 65. That will continue to move to the east. And by 7 o'clock, this particular indication, this piece of data showing the storm systems will be out of here. So the severe weather risk really all across mid-Missouri. As we get into your Wednesday, again, this will be more towards Wednesday afternoon and evening. All modes of severe weather will be a possibility. Clear and cold overnight. Looking for the low to mid-30s when you wake up for the afternoon. Sunny and mild. High temperatures tomorrow back into the upper 60s. So we'll get close to 70 degrees, though, I think, on Wednesday afternoon, which is also Veterans Day. Again, that's the day you want to really pay attention to any outdoor activities that you might have planned or any travel that you have to do, especially during that rush hour commute home. That's when that threat is really going to be sort of at its peak here in a lot of mid-Missouri. Behind that system into the weekend, not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Thanks, Zach.
Two of the highest-ranking administrators at the University of Missouri have lost their jobs. Now
an instructor there has come under fire. We'll show you the confrontation captured all on video, creating a stir next on KRCG 13 live at 10. Right now, the University of Missouri is without assistant president, and as of January 1st, Mizzou will be without a chancellor.
Tonight, a University of Missouri professor is in the crosshairs after a video recorded during today's demonstrations surfaced online. As we've told you, tensions ran high on the campus before the announcement of Tim Wolf's resignation. The group concerned Students 1950, along with hundreds of other students, rallied on the Carnahan Quad. And it appears as though the group aimed its anger at the media as well as the university administration. In the video, you can see a journalist trying to take photographs of the students. At one point, according to CNN, a reporter got inside the demonstration and approached Melissa Click, a Mizzou assistant professor of mass media.
Hi, media. Can I talk to you?
No, you need to get out. You need to get out.
No, I don't.
You need to get out.
I actually don't.
All right. Hey, who wants to help me get this reporter out of here? I need some muscle over here.
Now, on the official Twitter account of Concerned Students 1950 at Mizzou, the group sent out this tweet, quote, "We ask for no media in the parameters so the place where people live, fellowship, and sleep can be protected from twisted, insincere narratives." The Highway Patrol serves and protects the community.
And tonight we have a special report to go behind the scenes and get a look behind the uniform. That's next on KRCG 13, live at 10. As a news organization, we often report on stories involving the Missouri State Highway Patrol, but it's rare that we have a chance to really interact with the troopers on a personal level. For 6 weeks, I, along with 20 other people, went behind the scenes of the Missouri State Highway Patrol during their Community Alliance program to see how they protect and serve.
We're more than a uniform, we're a person behind the uniform.
Once a week for 6 weeks, Mid-Missourians from all walks of life learned about the Missouri State Highway Patrol's purpose and role within the community.
There are so many things that they do that I think the general public isn't familiar with.
Grant Shorthose of Jefferson City Flying Service is a graduate of the Troop F Community Alliance program.
Just to get a better understanding of what the rest of the Highway Patrol does, the way they interact with, the citizens of Missouri, and just to get a better understanding for myself of how all that works.
For Highway Patrol Public Information and Education Officer Scott White, this was his first time hosting a class.
The purpose of the Community Alliance is not to train people, it's just to inform them of the job we do and the role that we play in the community. One of the best reactions that I saw was after, I think, the second night, and it was when one of the participants came up to me and told me, "I wish I could do this every single night."
During one session, we went to the Highway Patrol's firing range. We each had a trooper guiding us through the steps of shooting their gun. It was a Glock 22 Generation 3 40 caliber. We learned how to load it, where to place our hands, and the proper stance. For some of us, shooting a handgun was a foreign experience. At the firing range, troopers created situations like ones they might encounter. At one point, the fluorescent lights illuminating the range, they were turned off, and red and blue lights resembling their patrol lights, they were turned on.
That was crazy. That was exciting, exhilarating. I mean, my adrenaline was just rushing through my body the entire time, and we were shooting at a paper target. It was just amazing to sit there and have that rush of what it feels like to actually fire that weapon. I can't imagine what they go through just driving down the road thinking that they could have to use it.
During one of the classes, we met members from the patrol SWAT team. We tried on their gear and looked in and out of the Bearcat. We also learned about the bomb squad and saw some of their technology. And for the 5th class, we met at the patrol's Emergency Vehicle Operations course, or EVOC. It's where Highway Patrol recruits learn how to operate their vehicle. Each one of us put on a helmet, buckled up, and got the ride of a lifetime. Through all of the classes, we got a better understanding of the pressure and stress troopers are under.
Hopefully, I'll just have a better respect for all law enforcement or anybody of authority. The idea of going through this class and just walking away with nothing would just be a waste of time.
And the switch is just right here.
I think that citizens sometimes think that maybe the police aren't doing their job, or they're overstepping their boundaries. With the Community Alliance, that helps citizens see the rules and the regulations and the procedures that the police have to follow. And I really think that programs like these alleviate some of those misunderstandings.
The program ended with graduation night with a plaque and a handshake. 21 new Mid-Missourians, now graduates of the 2015 Missouri State Highway Patrol Community Alliance Program. At the beginning of the course, Scott White was a corporal. By the end, he had been promoted to a sergeant. It was an accomplishment the class felt a connection to. Tomorrow night on KRCG 13 at Live at 10, we'll introduce you to two women whose lives were hit by tragedy. They'll share their stories and their reasoning behind taking this class and what they learned from it.
The football Tigers get back to work as they prepare to face BYU. And Mizzou's women's basketball team hits the court for another exhibition game. Tony has the highlights next in sports.
The Missouri Tigers will play BYU this Saturday in Kansas City. The status of that game was in doubt this weekend after several members of the Tiger football team joined the Concerned Student 1950 protest. But as Rod Smith tells us, after today's events, the Tigers can finally focus just on football.
Tony, maybe things will get a little bit more back to normal tomorrow when the Tigers take the practice field. They did meet together as a team tonight with head coach Gary Pinkel and the other coaches. The players themselves did not speak to the media today, and as normal procedure has it, they won't speak at all this week to us, so we won't get any reaction from them until after the BYU game on Saturday night in Kansas City. As for head coach Gary Pinkel, he did speak out today and talked about the team meeting yesterday, which really made a big impact.
I'm sure that some players said, I don't know if I really agree with missing a game for this, but we're a team and we're a family, and I get and I feel what those guys are feeling, and I'm going to support them. So to sit there and say, everybody raised their hand, said, I'm in, they certainly did. But at the end of the day, certainly there were some players that just went along with it, most likely, because it was their football team and their family, and they were going to support them.
Many opinions on this whole situation at Mizzou. Our sports writer Tom Leffler has a story on the website. In major college sports, there's a lot of money to be made and lost.
Well, there's always a bottom line, and the bottom line is usually money. You know, once the football team got involved, they realized they were going to lose $1 million plus. Heaven forbid it went on the whole season. If the volleyball team had done this, or the women's basketball team, no. The only two teams that have the leverage to do this are football and men's basketball, and there was a lot of money at stake, and I think that's why this stuff happened.
More from Tom on Leffler's link at krcgtv.com. And Tony, there is a football game Saturday night, Missouri and BYU. We weren't so sure yesterday, but they will play in Kansas City.
And that is at 6:30 on Saturday night, Missouri and BYU at Arrowhead. In other sports news today, Mizzou's soccer season came to an end. Despite a second-place finish in the SEC, the Tigers did not receive a bid to the NCAA tournament. Missouri finishes up the year with a 9-5-5 mark. Second and final exhibition game for the Mizzou women's basketball team. Tigers hosting Division II Quincy from Illinois. Sophie Cunningham, the freshman from Rockbridge High, driving, puts that one in. She had 15 points. An assist here to Leanna Doty, who was a perfect 3 of 3 from downtown. She finished with 13 points. Michelle Hooden getting in on the fun. That's good from beyond the arc. All Tigers, as you would expect, 97-54. Mizzou opens the regular season on the road Friday night down in Springfield at Missouri State. And don't forget, you have until tomorrow afternoon to help us select the Wall Street Insurance Group High School Football Play of the Week. Go to our KRCG 13 Facebook page to let us know which of this week's 3 nominees you think should be the winner. We will show you the top vote getter tomorrow during KRCG 13 live at 6. So get on there, let us know.
All right, sounds good.
Quite the day today.
Yeah.
And the weather is going to be something different on Wednesday.
Something on Wednesday, yeah. In the meantime, it will gradually be getting warmer. Still a little chilly tomorrow morning, a little below average, right around 34 degrees. We had a couple spots this morning in the upper 20s. I don't think we'll find upper 20s tomorrow, but would not be surprised if we found a few spots down to 30 to 31. However, tomorrow afternoon, we will find mid to upper 60s with lots of sunshine. We'll find some areas on Wednesday or Veterans Day close to 70 degrees. but by the afternoon and evening, we'll also find showers and thunderstorms across the area. Severe weather a possibility on Wednesday as well. A lot of that right now looks like it'll happen between noon and about 6 p.m. Beyond 6 p.m., we'll start to see things clear out, quiet down, and looking good going in next weekend.
Okay. And that is our report. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great night. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.